Between February and December 1916, an estimated 60 million shells were fired in the battle. 1 out of 4 didn't explode. The frontline villages destroyed in the fighting were never rebuilt. The battlefield zone still holds millions of unexploded shells, making the area so dangerous that housing and farming are still forbidden. With no survivors left to remember, Sunday's commemorations were focused on educating youth about the horrors and consequences of the war. French President Francois Hollande and German Chancellor Angela Merkel are marking the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Verdun, the longest of World War I. Hundreds of thousands of French and German soldiers died during 10 months of fighting in northeastern France. France eventually emerged victorious. But today, Verdun is seen as a symbol of Franco-German reconciliation, which was reflected by both Mr. Hollande and Mrs. Merkel in their speeches. The ceremony started with the leaders visiting the German military cemetery at Consenvoye, just north of Verdun, where 11,000 German soldiers were buried. The leaders then moved on to a ceremony at Verdun City Hall. In her speech there, Mrs. Merkel said, "Only those who know the past can draw lessons and build a good future." Remembering the famous 1984 image of former leaders Francois and Helmut Kohl holding hands at Verdun, she said, "We have reconciled and reached agreement. We have become friends." Mr. Hollande also reflected on Franco-German relations, saying that Mrs. Merkel's presence showed that Verdun was not a symbol of suffering, but one of hope. He said, "Verdun is where Europe lost itself 100 years ago. But it's also experienced the best the town was capable of galvanizing itself, coming together for peace and for Franco-German friendship." It focuses on educating young people and involves some 4,000 French and German children in a performance choreographed by German filmmaker Volker Sloendorff. Some 60 million shells were fired during the battle. About 25% failed to explode, meaning that housing and farming in the battlefield area are still banned.